Hello, good people. This is Tracy Reddy, and welcome to today's episode of Friday Live. Getting started a wee bit late today because I was trying to get something set up, and I'm still going to try to get that set up right now. But today we are talking about, as I've titled it, um, uh, shoot, I forgot the title. Um, the people who love quick fixes. Yeah, quick fixes and the people who love them. So give me just a moment. I would love to know where you guys are tuning in from. You can leave that in the comments while I attempt to get my screen share set up, honey, because that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Yes, here it is. But I'm not quite ready to share it at the moment. So we're going to take it down for a second. Okay. So, welcome to the Friday Live broadcast. This is where we discuss relationships at the intersection of current events. So, one such current event. Well, before we jump into that, I do want to do our segment where we go on to social media and we go on to the Soul Care for Single Black Women page and talk about a post that is there. So we're definitely diving into one post that is there, absolutely. But we want to dive into yet another post that is there on the Soul Care for Single Black Women page because what we started out doing on this Friday live broadcast is going down the Soul Care for Single Black Women page and talking about a post or several posts that were on there, but we stopped doing that and we're focused more on like topical things. And so we'll go with this one. And this one is for you ladies. You go to the Soul Care for Single Black Women Facebook page. You can see this too. It is a meme that we put up, and it says, "Hey sis, suspicion and discernment are not the same." And I want to speak to this because I primarily work with Black women. I probably work with single women. And one of the things that I think is mistaken often is her fears and suspicions about a man, about a situation, more so than a real sense of discernment. That line is very thin. That's a very thin line between fear and suspicion about something or somebody and actual discernment. So ladies, just take that to know, and that's anybody really, but this one is particularly to the ladies. Take that to heart that if you haven't dealt with your fears, they can very much drive what you think is discernment and really help you sabotage, potentially great relationships. So be mindful of that. Don't let your fear be the thing that makes you sabotage your relationships. Okay. All right. So I always want to jump on that page and see what we have there. Okay. So we're jumping right into a topic, y'all. It's a hot one, it's a juicy one. We are talking about the one and only Kevin Samuels. Now, for those of you who do not know him, I have created a little a little some for you to be able to get an idea of who this gentleman is. So, give me just one second. Yes, okay, here we go. Let me go to present. Okay, so Kevin Samuels is this guy. He has positioned himself as a image consultant. And basically, but he primarily gives relationship advice. And so in case you haven't seen him, we'll dive into that a little more. So I'm in a whole lot of we'll dive into him and who he is a little bit more in just a second. I'm in a lot of Facebook communities because of what I do, the nature of what I do. I am in several Facebook communities, and I as they relate to dating and relationships and all that. And so yesterday I came across this post, which I'm going to share now. I came across this post where somebody had posted, "Hey, Black people, what are your thoughts on Kevin Samuels?" And I posted because I thought this was hilarious. Where this guy here says he's a bitter, garbage, twice thrown back, middle-aged twink, and you can read the rest for yourself. I've never heard anybody call somebody a twink. I tend to think that this fellow must be from maybe another country, and that's a something that they say there. But whatever the case, I thought this was funny, and so I posted this as a joke, and but the reality is people started responding with how they truly feel about Kevin Samuels. Lots of women were saying, "Oh, he's toxic, he's problematic, he's this, he's that." Lots of men were saying, "Oh, he's great. Bow down and worship the God that is Kevin Samuels." Okay. I for one have the opinion uh, that he appeals to a certain population, and we're getting into that in this whole conversation. So, with this being said, let's going back to who Mr. Kevin Samuels is. So, who this fella is a he is a like I said, he positioned himself as a image consultant, and basically he I guess attempts to try to tell people how to get how he tells women how to get high value men. And when you see the call is on his show and everything, he's basically hearing their story and very in a nice, curt, very calm way, for the most part, reading them and telling them that why they don't deserve a high value man. He's become most notable for his conversation with this young lady. This is when he went viral, um, talking to this young lady and telling her that she was destined to be alone, die alone, and despite the fact that she wants a six-figure earner, because she is a six-figure earner. So this is where he really blew up in popularity a couple months ago. And that was a whole windstorm of situations. And so this caused a lot of friction, and people were really upset about him calling her a five, calling her average, and telling her that she was just going to die alone and that she should not pursue or want a man of quote unquote high value. So he is not the only person speaking to this. This woman, someone mentioned in the comments, this woman, Rebecca Lynn Pope, she gives the same type of Kevin Samuels advice. And telling women quote unquote the hard truth about what it's going to take to get a man, and particularly a high value man. And so a guy sent this on response to that post that I posted, saying it's a woman, she said nicer, but she said the same thing Kevin, and they right, she right, they right, and so her, but she has the same type of rhetoric. And granted, she is a little bit more palatable because I watched some of her material. She does present it in a different way, and I guess it's come softer hearing it from a woman than a man. But nevertheless, she puts that same material forth. All right, but they're not the only ones. They speak to these extremes. These women and others on YouTube also speak to extremes, but they speak to extremes to women. They're teaching women how to numb and negate their real, true needs, of wanting to feel companionship and all those things, and just go for money, or just go for status, or just, really hollow out what it really means to be in a relationship and just go for those things. Since that's the game that men are playing, maybe that's the game we need to play too. So these women are on YouTube, and they cater to an audience of women that are on a far end spectrum as well. Got lots of responses to my post yesterday. One of which, there was this guy. He's doing a parody of sorts of Kevin Samuels, just to give you a little clue as to what Kevin's advice is like, or a parody of it. And I hope y'all can hear this. I'll see. So I don't know if y'all could hear that. Basically, this parody, he's saying that Kevin Samuel's advice is like, so you say you're a high dollar earner, you have multiple degrees, you have all these things going for yourself, and you want a man who can read and write, but ma'am, you are 5 pounds overweight. So that's the parody of how Mr. Samuels presents his information. So with that being said, um, some really interesting conversations came up in this, and when I posted this in that group. And my, like I said, my opinion of it, there's a lot of men that's like, oh, praise the God of Kevin Samuels. A lot of women who are like, oh, Kevin Samuels is toxic and problematic. I lean towards that, not because I'm a woman, but because of what I'm talking about. Not because I'm a woman, but because I'm talking about what I'm talking about today. And so one such conversation that came up in that dialogue was, my opinion is that Kevin caters to broken men. Kevin caters to broken men. Also, Rebecca and anybody else who gives that type of advice, they cater to the brokenness. And I put that in here. And one young man, I gave him a whole rundown of what I meant by that. And he said, this is interesting, but I don't see the correlation of, this and brokenness. And so I went on to say, I can show you. And he said, I'm curious in learning, sis. I hope you're out there, brother. I'm curious in learning, sis. And I said, I got you. Down here at the bottom, I say, I got you. I'll let you know when the video is posted. So here we go. This is said video. Okay, so how I am approaching this is I am a marriage and family therapist. I've been doing this work for, well, technically 18 years, but officially maybe about 15 years. But if I count my training and things I had to do, seeing clients while I was still in school, it's about 18 years, but officially 15 years. And so I'm approaching this from that standpoint. I'm approaching this as a person who is called to help people heal their hurt. And that's why I say, and that's why I see that this is something for that these people are catering to the brokenness of men. And I can see why there's some value in this. So I'm just gonna start where I just said why I say folks like him appeal to men's brokenness. His rhetoric induces comments like this one guy that I saw. I meant to put the screenshot in here where I went to Kevin's video and actually got that information. And it was a guy who said that what did he say? He was like, sometimes whatever the video was about, his comment was, sometimes dealing with women, you get, the more you deal with women, the more you see they're just like children. And I'm like, anybody or any advice that is eliciting that type of response, where you are in a position to say other people are behaving like children, is not conducive to healthy relationships. Anything that puts more division between men and women who want relationships with each other, that's not moving towards wholeness. That's not moving towards healthy relationships. And so that was a lot of the comments on. I spent the morning infecting my brain with stuff of Kevin Samuels. And yes, I still am of the same opinion that this man caters to brokenness, because the things that he puts out there further divides people. And so that's one reason why I say he appeals to brokenness. The second reason I say, he has a whole system built around that the currency, the primary currency in relationships is external, how she looks and what he makes. Okay, that's what the basis of his thing is. This is a simple-minded and immature, underdeveloped way of constructing a relationship. Yeah, you can have a relationship like that, and yes, like that, and yes, there are people who do seek these things as the top value in their relationship, but that is external and it's not sustainable, as finances can change and beauty can fade. And so with that, making that the basis of the advice you're giving, yes, you're appealing to a certain audience, but you're appealing to that audience's brokenness. It reminds me of the Three Little Pigs. And you know how one house was built with straw, and then all the way up to the house built with brick or whatever. Um, the way to if you're building a relationship off of externals, um, your house is built on wheat and grass. And the first sign of problems or issue, it's going to tear your house down. It's going to tear your house down. And so there's no real foundation when your whole basis of relationship or relationship advice is is external. Is external. You're seeking external validation, and there is nothing healthy about that. Okay? Okay, that's an indicator that there's a problem, is my point. Again, I'm answering the question why I say Kevin Samuels appeals to brokenness. Number three, he's catering to his base by appealing to the lie that men are so much more rational, logical, factual. Men are just, oh my gosh, men are, they have, we don't deal in emotions. You petty women do that. That is a lie. The problem is, first with that, whose rationale, whose logic, whose facts, who is the who is the due north, who is the one that gives, who says what is factual, what is rational. If it's men, then that's just going in circles, because it when you say that, okay, men are simple, they deal in in rational and logic and all that stuff. You have to stop and ask, whose logic? You have to stop and ask, who is the person that is issuing out what is logical, what is rational, what is factual. And if you asking women, women gonna say it's their logic. If you're asking men, men gonna say it's their logic. And so he's catering to his base in this way and further pushing this narrative that men are only here, logical, rational, factual, and that's a skewed view. Okay, that in and of itself is one-sided and also unhealthy. Okay, so that is the third reason why I say and know that Kevin Samuels is appealing to the brokenness of men, because we'll get to the becauses in a moment. Okay, so that's a skewed view, and it further promotes men not fully um, owning and acknowledging their feelings and their emotions, which further dehumanizes them. But we'll get to that in a minute, Chad. We got a whole thing. I got a whole thing here. Got a whole thing. All right. So that in fact brings me to my next point, which is relationships are only as successful as both parties are unselfish. I'll repeat that. A relationship is only as successful as both of the parties are unselfish. I'm going to write that down here. Relationships are only as successful as both parties are unselfish. And that is by yours truly. I say this all the time to my people. I say this all the time to my folks, that relationships are only as successful as both parties are unselfish. And so, with that being true, that is not something that I feel and I just kind of think in my man. That is true when we study relationships over years and decades and centuries. The ability for the two people to come together, meet one another's needs, and also be able to express their own. that is going to determine the best success of that relationship. Period. Point blank. So with that being the case, I can see some value in what Mr. Samuels does, because one thing we all come into this earth needing is validation. We want people to validate our existence. We want people to validate how we feel. We want people who validate our experiences. And Mr. Samuels and like the other lady and everybody who cater, even the ladies who are catering to, even the YouTubers and content creators who are catering to women on the far extreme, they're validating the thoughts and experiences of their base. And so with that, I can see why men are flocking to him and are praising him. I even saw some say, "Oh, he's a national treasure. He got to be protected at all costs." Oh my God! And so, I can actually applaud that he gives voice. He's the mouthpiece that many men are uncomfortable being in their own lives. Many men are not comfortable sharing, "Oh, this hurt me," or "Oh, this, I feel this way about this," or "that way about that." And so you get somebody like Mr. Samuels who becomes that mouthpiece and sticks it to women, you know. And so it's very validating for a lot of men. And I understand that. And I can actually, like I said, appreciate anybody being able to give us some insight into how men are thinking and are feeling and all that kind of thing. So there's that. So he is giving voice to men and their actual how they feel about things. Okay, I get that, but that still don't make it healthy. You can tell me, "Oh, I went in I got so mad I slapped my partner." That could be a man or a woman. "I slapped my partner." And I'd be like, "You know what? I can totally understand how your anger got you to the point of a physical exchange." But that still don't make it right. That still don't make it right. That still don't even make it healthy, right? You understand what I'm saying? They don't make it healthy. Just because you're validated, okay, doesn't make what you do or how you feel healthy. It doesn't make it create healthy, lasting, viable relationships. And here's why it doesn't work, because it's rooted in selfishness. Read the thing on the screen right now. Relationships are only as successful as both parties are unselfish. And so, this idea of Kevin Samuels trying to coach women to get into their lane or whatever that is based on the hurt that men have been going through, or the inner workings of men that have not been expressed. um that's one-sided again, and that is not contributing to healthy relationships. um he has a little saying that he says, "Sex, sandwich, and shut up." Sex, sandwich, and shut up. Meaning, feed me, F me, and leave me alone. That's dishonoring, that's disrespectful, and it's disillusioned. And again, completely one sided. So it's two things with that. If you get a man, oh no, I'm sorry, I read my own thing wrong. So it's two things with that. Number one, men, if you want a woman who you just want her to throw away who she is at the essence, at the core of who she is, because you want, as Kevin Samuel says, to be sexed, to be fed, and to be left alone. You may actually want a man, because that is not how women naturally operate. Now, is there a conversation to be had about how important sex is to a man? Is there a conversation to be had about how valuable men feel about, a woman being able to provide for food and things like that? Is there a conversation to be had about all that stuff? Did he need space to kind of process what he's feeling, what he's thinking? Yes, not invalidating that. But the way that Kevin Samuels, is going about trying to bridge that gap, which is not really a bridge, it's creating a bigger division, is not healthy. So if you want a woman, me and my husband joke about this all the time. If you want a woman who don't have no emotions, who don't express anything, who don't want to have real connection with you, you probably want to get a man. Okay? Or you're going to get a woman who is so broken and so not in her lane, she's going to be giving you a shell of herself. Is that what you want? If you want that kind of woman, you got to decide. You got to pick your battles, okay? And I don't care what Mr. Samuel says and how he's trying to stick it to these women and tell them what thus said the God of Kevin Samuel. I don't care what he's trying to enforce and say. You got to recognize that just like you naturally come with a set of needs and wants, she will too. And so this again is a cause for compromise and conversation, not women, y'all need to just get in line and leave us men alone, give us our sex, and that's all you should be wanting from us. Because that's all we want. Okay? So that's another reason the problems with the way that he is teaching is because it's not conducive to healthiness. So, okay. So the other thing about that is that Warren said that if you pursue a woman that's only giving you those three things, then it's completely ignoring her need for connection, commitment, companionship. But it's interesting to me. Men have let's just say, and I know this is not all men. I know men that are absolutely not like this. I know men who have listened to Samuels and like, okay, he's far off. He's not speaking for all men. And he's not healthy. So, okay, so there's that. But in that, I find it interesting that if at men's core, if this is true for you, if at your core you just want a woman to set, as Kevin Samuel says, sandwich, sex, and silence or something he says, if that's what you really want, and then compared to what women typically want in a relationship, which is connection, commitment, companionship, it's interesting to me that what the woman naturally wants benefits the two. And what the man naturally wants mostly benefits him. Most of what the man wants on that list of sex sandwiching is all to me, do this for me, do this to me, leave me alone. You know, and not to say that women won't get pleasure from sex. That's not what I'm saying. It's not the point I'm making. I'm saying that when you say connection, that involves two people. When you say commitment, that involves two people. When you say communication, that involves two people. When you say companionship, that involves two people. And both and each one coming into this collaboration with one another. That's what women at their core, at their healthiest, that's what they want. And you're telling me that men at their healthiness, according to the gospel of Kevin Samuel, at their core, what they want is sex, sandwich, and silence. That builds disconnection. This is why I say this man caters to the brokenness in men. And I'm gonna dive a little deeper into it. Because I've both surveyed and I've read enough and I've talked to enough men who they don't have a dog in the fight with me. I'm married, happily married woman. I just love human behavior. So I'm always questioning and studying and asking. You can see on my previous video, I did a video because this other question's been coming up a lot lately. Well, what do women bring to the table anyway? And so we did a deep dive into that in last week's Friday Live. So in doing it though, years ago I asked a bunch of men what was the thing that their married men, what was the thing that they feel like their wife, I didn't say bring to the table, I said what was like the value of him having his wife in his life. And they were able to share some very distinct things. And I shared some of that in the other video. So watch last week's Friday Live if you're interested in that. But these intangibles that a woman brings to the table, men who become healthy or who are healthy look for in a spouse and appreciate once they get a spouse. And what I'm saying is, when we talk about if men just want to be sexed, sandwiched, and left alone, and women want companionship, compatibility, and connectedness, men end up coming to this side, and Samuel's discounts it to, oh, that's just because he wants sex from you. No, idiot. That's because, sorry. That's because that is a human thing. It is human. When it pertains to relationships, it is very much so appealing to the humanness of two people to connect, appealing to the humanness of two people to communicate. It's actually not feminine. It's just what women often want. But they are even denying themselves the desire to want that because you got people like Kevin Samuels telling them, you want too much, basically. And it's not just him. Oh my God, it's a whole world out there. These red pill people, these men going their own way people, all these folks are creating additional division between men and women, and specifically between Black men and women who do not need anything else, putting division between us. So I said all that to say, um, it's a lie. It's a myth. It's a whole myth out here that men are completely not emotional and that men are totally logic and ration, and that's just how it is. That's a myth. And the resistance to that is very this is concerning because um men have gone to even call like being emotional and all that stuff to be something that's completely feminine, and it's not. So here's what the truth is: women, both men and women, are equally emotional. Don't miss me. Don't miss me on this. Both men and women are equally emotional. Women, however, are more expressive. Okay? Women are more expressive with their emotions. Women are more likely to tell you what their emotions are. Women are more likely to, be in touch with what the actual emotion is, and not just those surface level, first top tier emotions like anger, sad, whatever. Women can oftentimes and have been taught to, and in their interactions with other women, have been able to hone in on that emotional piece, but they don't make emotions completely feminine. So with that in mind, yes, women are both men and women are both equally emotional. Women just express theirs more. Women just communicate theirs more. Want me to tell you what men emotional thing is now called? Ego. Came up with a little acronym for that. Men are incredibly emotional. That's why we hear this little thing, stroke a man's ego. Okay. But what do you think an ego is? It's pure emotion. So I had an acronym that I came up with. Ego is emotions gone obscure. Emotions gone obscure. And I'm typing that in the thing because y'all need to see that, whether you're watching a replay or whatever. Emotions gone obscure. Mm-hmm. Emotions gone obscure, meaning that let me put that up there. Meaning that men have become masters of hiding their emotions, masters of stuffing their emotions away, masters of ignoring their emotions, and or diving into them in a way that is healthy, that they really can acknowledge and actually unpack their emotions. So with that, give me just a minute because I'm gonna have to plug up this computer wheresoever the cord is. Give me just a second. And I'll be right back to get get my cord. One second. Yes, my loves, I am back. I had to go get my cord before this computer turns off. Sorry about that. But yes, so as I was saying, ego, emotions gone obscure, emotions that have been masterfully tucked away, hidden. And so when we talk about stroke a man's ego ain't nothing but pure, unadulterated emotion. And those emotions may be different from some of the emotions that women feel, but emotions themselves have no gender. A woman can feel rejected, a man can feel rejected. A woman can feel discontented, a man can feel that insecure, disappointed, all these different things. We can all feel that. And so to say or to buy into this rhetoric that I heard Kevin Samuels give, that men are more logical, we're simple. I hate to hear somebody say that men are simple. Listen, people are complicated. Men and women. People are complicated. And so when I hear somebody say, "Oh, men are simple," lies you tell, you letting me know now you have never studied human behavior. You're letting me know now that you don't know anything past the surface of what we see. And that's what we're about to take a deep dive into right now. So let's explore how we got to this point where men's ego, emotions gone obscure, got to where it is now, and why I say it's a brokenness rather than just who they actually are. So we're gonna take it from day one. We're gonna take it from the beginning. We're gonna take it from the birth canal. Baby boy, brand new, just born, right? Baby boy, little bit, itsy bitty little baby, born. And from about the ages of 0 to maybe 3 years old, he's allowed to have full expression, communicating in the way that he knows, on how he feels about different things. And then somewhere around 4 to 7 years old, seven if you're lucky, that's how he feels gets snatched away. His expression, his freedom to express how he feels get, and you have to be. Somebody said I'm being simplistic. You're absolutely right, I am, because we got to get back to simple, because y'all are overcomplicated. People are overcomplicating something that's very simple. So anyway, keep listening. Thank you for watching. Um, and so he's given taken away. That is taken away early in his life by a society that's full of already emotionally deficient people. Okay, and so then life goes on, and he experiences a range of events that evokes a series of emotions. Okay, all these different things that happen, all these life experiences, they happen. They're out there. He everything from things that happen within the home to things happening among the parents, among siblings, at school, with girls, all this type of stuff. Life starts happening, and he's having these emotions, but he's not given the right to express them. He's not given the freedom to express them. Expressing them makes him weak, makes him a punk, makes him someone who should not be listened to, makes him uncool. Okay? And so he's unable to express these things. So then you get about in your teenage years, and he's become pretty good for the most part at masking the emotions that he has. Um, he's become great at that. And so he comes to learn that the only acceptable emotions are anger, competitiveness, and pleasure, particularly when it pertains to women. So he takes this wide range of emotions, this wide variety. I have a feeling feeling word sheet that I was going to put up here, but I didn't get it set up, so I'm not going to try to pull it up now. But he has this wide array of emotions that he feels, but he tries to compartmentalize them into anger, competition, and pleasure. Those are the only three acceptable emotions that, for the most part, men are allowed in this society to feel. And so when he has all these different emotions from all these different things, even men ain't even allowed to sometimes be as happy, even express happiness that much. So is it, that's why I was this thing a couple years back, hashtag Black Boy Joy, because it's really refreshing to see men feeling. Okay. So anyway, I digress. So he starts to feel all these different things and try to compartmentalize, minimalize it to just anger, competitiveness, and pleasure, particularly as it pertains to women. And when these things, when his a range of emotions don't fit into one of those three little compartments, um, he shuts down. He shuts down. Because like when you talk about stuff like grief and sadness or confusion, disappointment, and you try to express it as anger, you try to express it as competition, you try to express it as um like working all these extra hours, or men become so obsessed with work. I know a lot of women are wanting that connection, wanting their husbands to come home and all that kind of stuff, and he's just taking extra hours at work and all this stuff. This is the reason why. Oftentimes it's because it's emotions that have been misidentified, so he's pouring all of himself into competition, excessive competition. Or he might be one who's prone to anger issues, so he's punching holes in walls, doing all kinds of things. Or, as we know very well, he can try to sex it away to try to compensate for all these other complex emotions and just fit it into the pleasure box and say, you know what, I'm going to sex this feeling away if I can. But here's the thing about feelings, those things, if you don't address them head on, right where they are, right what they are going to still be there. So if you're feeling disappointment, grief, all these different wider range of emotions, and you're not dealing with them as they are, it doesn't mean that they go away. It doesn't mean that they go away. No, you can share with your group. Absolutely. It doesn't mean that those feelings go away. Okay? They're still there. They're still there. And that's why I named this thing what I called it, temporary fixes. Because if you have for like literally decades of your life, by the time you're 30 or 40 years old, when you take all of that and you try to compartmentalize all this array of things into these three boxes of anger, competition, and pleasure, you're still sitting on a mountain of emotions that are just ego. You're still sitting on a mountain of ego, emotions gone, obscure, hiding. You're still sitting on that. And that doesn't fix anything, is what I'm saying. That doesn't fix anything. They're still there. And so then you get a man, he gets about 20, 30, 40 years old. He's completely ill equipped at properly identifying and dealing with the complexity of his emotions. Again, not because they're not there, but because he has mastered suppressing them. Now, we still ain't talking about women because I deal with women all the time. We talking about men. And why I'm saying that Kevin Samuels appeals to the brokenness in men. So anywho, so he's completely ill-equipped at dealing with that stuff. He's mastered how to suppress them. Then you insert this woman. And I sometimes think that maybe men are actually maybe sometimes envious of women because women are so capable and have so much freedom in society to just express how they feel. And so that can set up some bitterness, that can set up some anger, that can set up some, like I said, envy. Um, and so when a woman comes along, she's freely expressing how she feels. Um, and not only that, she may even try to appeal to his emotion, stirring up those things that he has learned how to suppress and tuck away. Okay. And now this is an inconvenience for him because he don't, that's not his world. You trying to make me feminine. You trying to turn me into a woman. I'm not your friend. And it's like, no, I'm just trying to connect with you. And no, I don't want no parts of that. I'm simple. Sex me, feed me, leave me alone. But remember, that was all. That whole sex me, feed me, leave me alone is a product of the brokenness and the things that have not been handled. Okay, so all right, so then um, he's a very hesitant because I know a lot of times, a lot of times, I ain't gonna say every time, but a lot of times the thing that because I was listening to one of these red pill guys one time, and you could just hear the pain in his brother's voice, just sheer pain. And the things he was saying was even not even congruent. Um, they were. It was very indicative of somebody who is out of touch with how they really feel about things because it was just all over the place, just all over the place. And a lot of times, and one of the things he referenced was some woman, his ex-wife, who had broke his heart. Man, you give your life, you give your heart to these women, and they ain't no good, they ain't this, they ain't that. And I'm just like, a lot of times, that initial encounter in the early years that men have with their emotions, it comes from when they like somebody. Okay, they liked somebody who didn't like them back or who didn't appreciate who they were or whatever, who trifled with their emotions. That happens to men and women. But when you're a woman, you're typically given societal stamp of approval to deal with that. And with men, that hasn't been the case. And that's why, again, why I see why somebody like Samuels and all these red pill and men going their own way and manosphere and all that crap, why I see why those things have come along and given voice to these feelings that folks are having, deep within that they can't or don't know how to express. And so they let these folks come along and do it. And so, okay, then when he grows up and he has this woman that comes into his life who's trying to make connection to him, he's hesitant to go heart first again because last time I did that, dot 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 dot. Okay, all right. So insert this toxic version of manhood that welcomes him with open arms and encourages him, man, don't be giving these hoes, these B words, your heart, your this, your that. Use them, objectify them, take from her. And I honestly don't think, I'm being so for real right now. I honestly do not believe that the majority of men want to operate that way. I don't believe they want to. I don't think that. I honestly, I for one still have hope that I feel like a lot of people don't even appeal to men and talking to men in these relationship in healthy relationship spaces because they don't believe that men will listen. They don't believe that there's any hope for men to overcome the emotional turmoil that's going on within their ego. And I, for one, believe that that is not true, and that men really do want to have healthy relationships. I believe men want to be in healthy spaces with women, you know. But the way that some of these people now are going about having it happen or trying to have that happen is actually not going to lead to healthiness. So anyway, you get this version, toxic version of manhood that says, "Hey, we're gonna welcome you with open arms. Go use women, go abuse women. Do not put your heart into any of this, because these hoes ain't this and these that and that dot dot dot." Okay, fine. And so yes, he's going to indulge because one, it's great out here just having sex and not having no accountability, not having nothing. Society ain't gonna hold it against you. You're sowing your raw oats and yeah, go, child, go. So I could see why he will indulge in that, but it's only again a temporary fix because it's only numbing the pain of all this stuff that's wrapped up in the ego, these emotions that have gone obscure. So it can't repair any disconnections that's in his heart. It can't repair any issues that he's experiencing. It can't do that because all these external fixes, finding a woman that's fine, using women, working obsessively, pouring yourself into all these different spaces and places, does not heal. That's why at some point in just about every man's life, he comes to the point and says, "Oh, this is old. I'm ready to settle down. This is tiring," because it didn't give the original pleasure. I've sat on in counseling sessions with men, hearing them say, "Man, yeah, I went and I went out, and yeah, I had sex with her and then say, and I went home and I cried in the shower because it was still not fulfilling." Because you're trying to use external things as Mr. Samuels is saying, to fill internal voids. So yes, it's going to get old because it never was the fix for that. Okay. So here you have this man. He's an emotional wreck on the inside, but he's learned how to suppress and act like it's not there. He said, I don't have emotions. I'm logical. I'm rational. I'm all these things. All because he has no clue how to properly deal with the emotions. So he makes potentially makes this superficial connection to a woman who wants to get him, but don't, because he's presented himself as somebody who doesn't even need that part of himself. He'll say, "You don't respect me." And okay, what does that mean? I've had so many women like, okay, I try to walk a thin line and appeal to my husband and stroke his ego, and it seems like she just can't quite hit the mark because he can't. He can't always hit the mark. And so then he sends a Kevin Samuels video. And women are like, no, mm-mm. Because ultimately what Kevin Samuels teaches leads to, and people like him, does not, again, lead to health. It leads to more harm in the long run. And so he tries to put up this wall of strength and courage because, again, society has that pressure on men to be so strong and so courageous. And I get it, though. I love a good, strong, courageous man. But I love also a man who is able to be that strength that's needed, but also aware enough or brave enough. To me, part of courage is being able to look within and come to terms with the things that have hurt you, come to terms with the things that have disappointed you, come to terms with who you are. That's who you are at your core, in your soul. What we do here, you see, the name of this is called Soul Care for Single Black Women. But the honesty, the truth of the matter is, my big why in all of what I do is because I want to see strong, healthy, happy Black families. That's it. That's what I do. Now I cater to the women, and I've called them to task on their issues. Um, because they listen. Because they listen, and they tend to be more apt to change, and it's just a little more difficult, especially for a woman to get a man to get into that space. But here I am, right here I am, and I'm open to talking to any of you brothers about where you are and helping you kind of work into, get your stuff, right. When you done in the Kevin Samuels rhetoric, like I said earlier, because some of y'all are seeing the number go up and down as far as who's here, who's in here, who's watching. Um, but like I said earlier, I see the value in what Kevin is doing because he is validating how you guys have felt, how you're feeling deep down the inside. You don't talk about, you're crying, you got all these things going on the inside and nobody knows. And so you got somebody like him and these manosphere and these red pill people, and they're all giving voice to what you're feeling. But just because they're able to validate, and I can appreciate that, because one thing as a therapist that I love is to hear a person's story and validate their very existence. Like, that's valuable. Okay. But just because I validate you, or just because you're validated, don't mean you're on the path to health. That just means I acknowledge that a thing happened to you and that it made you feel a way. Now let's talk about how to properly cope with and deal with the way that you feel. And the stuff that these people, your Kevin Samuels and all them, are putting out there is external. So you're still ultimately, you can get that beautiful woman and all that stuff. You can get the biggest car, the biggest wallet, and you're still going to feel empty. Hence, you got millionaires out here killing themselves. Hence, you have people, the suicide rate for men far outweighs that of women, because y'all are carrying these things internally from decades of feelings that you tried to compartmentalize into, pleasure, anger, and what was the other one? Pleasure, anger, and the other one, whatever that was. So you can't keep distracting yourself with the external. There are only going to be three coping strategies when you finally get to the point where you're like, okay, here's how all these emotions and ego and stuff is going on. Emotion, and when I say ego, I mean emotions gone obscure. When you got all this stuff going on and issues and all this kind of stuff, you're going to cope with it three ways. One, you're going to go numb and pretend to be happy. But passively, those obscure emotions, they're going to find an outlet, whether it be through anger, whether it be through cheating, whether it be through silence and stonewalling, whether it be through embarrassing obsessions and addictions. You gonna find a way to numb it publicly, but privately you're suffering. And so you're going to do some of these other things, okay, behind closed doors. Or you're going to cope with all these ego things, these emotions going obscure for all these years and decades of your life. You either go, like I said, numb it, or you're going to wild out. You're going to aggressively distract yourself with external things to help you present the illusion that everything is okay. And you know it's not okay. And we see, like I said, we see this all the time with people who are making bukus of money and still out here killing themselves. Okay? I'm so tickled about a brother who said, "Oh, this is so simplistic," and I don't know if he meant that as a compliment or insult, but I'm gonna take it as a compliment because we have to get to these simplistic things in order for us to experience that healing. Healing ain't really difficult. It's just the courage to embrace it. Because then you're going to have that third reaction, which is you're going to open up. The other possible coping strategy, besides going numb, wilding out, is opening up, sharing with your woman, sharing with a therapist, or even with an emotionally intelligent man what's really going on so you can get better coping strategies. Ain't but a few responses to this. Pick yours. Which one are you doing? And how is that working out for you? How do you suspect when you look long term, when you see yourself behaving like this 10, 20 years from now? What does that look like? Are you lonely? Have you built a legacy? Do you have a great relationship with your kids? Will you be remembered for somebody who was um, cherished and well loved? Or will you be this angry, bitter person who is just kind of floating through the world, floating from birth to death and just really, haven't you've been suffering your whole life? So then you add all these things. You picking which one you're gonna do. Which one of those coping strategies: wild out, numb, or be open. And most men go with the first two. They either gonna wild out for a season, or they just gonna numb themselves and act like nothing's okay. And then you insert somebody like Kevin Samuels, like I said, who gives voice to all this, and it's not leading you towards health. So I'm trying to be the big, at least in this video, the big sister that y'all need. Okay, brothers, the big sister that y'all need, because you can listen to Kevin and you can get your emotional rocks off from his rhetoric, but ultimately know that the it's not going to be the ultimate in your healing. It's not going to lead you to the spot where you want to be. But I can understand why you guys value what he's doing, because he is giving voice to a very real experience. But all he does giving voice to it. Getting healthy beyond that comes through you opening up and getting in a position where you can unpack those things in a healthy way, not just dumping on women and women should and women need to. When you start, even, and I say this to the women too, when I'm talking to them, girl, listen, this is not about you putting off this or that on him. It's about what can you do to become the best version of yourself. And so, men, I'm saying that to you too. What can you do to become the best version of yourself? And that is to open up and to unpack all these things that have happened. And I guarantee you're going to feel so much better. Now, let me look at these comments and see what's going on. He said, let's see. Have you ever talked to Kevin Samuels? If not, how are you able to diagnose his emotions? Do you not think it would be a good idea to invite your show and try to understand his point of view? I neither made simplistic comment as a compliment or insult, just observation. Okay, and that's fine. I can appreciate that too. I would love to speak with Mr. Samuels. I would love to speak with him because I have watched several of his videos, and like I said, somebody said something about that the other day, and I'm like, he really ain't that hard to understand, you know? And I feel like in what I presented today, there is room. Like I said, I can acknowledge what he's done because, or why he's so celebrated among so many men, because he is giving voice to things. I'm not trying to diagnose his emotions. I'm telling you specifically his emotions. Although I do believe that for him to be able to do that, this is probably something that he too is struggling with, because this ain't just exclusive to men. black men in America, this is a dehumanizing men is a earth-wide thing. Okay, stripping away the ability to feel and to emote for the other side to be able to fight or to be able to compete. That's not abnormal. That is not rocket science, and that is not even a. You know what? It's not even an insult. It's not even an insult. What it is an acknowledgement that there is a portion of a man's soul that has been iced out, and that is problematic. So yes, I would love to speak with a Mr. Samuels about that. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Absolutely. And again, I would love to speak with any of you brothers who may be watching this. And of course, ladies, y'all know I always be ready to speak to y'all. But fellas, if you can wrap your mind around what I am saying, that the validation of a Samuels or a Red Pill or whomever is not it's not the bus. That's not the stop. That's not the bus stop right there. That's just the beginning of your process. Let me share a little something with you. It said many women call and pay to speak to him. Why do you think that is? Oh, very easily. Oh, child. That's a whole nother video. But very easily, a lot of women call him because they too are trying to what's the word? Properly navigate this world of external validation. And so they call him hoping to get a stamp of approval that they too can operate in this world of brokenness. Period. No other reason that they call in for that. No other reason they call in for that level of there's sometimes disrespect. And I've heard several of his videos and some of his stuff. The thing about him, which is hilarious, is that he oftentimes does it so calmly, and he just and yeah, you're ugly, and yeah, you're wanting to, that type of thing. And so it gives the appearance that he's not being emotionally abusive, and it absolutely is, because again, you can to tell somebody. I'm thinking about the one young lady, to tell somebody they're going to die alone because what they want just is unreasonable is just a lie. It's just a lie. That is not true. My thing is to work with people to become the best version of themselves, and they attract what they attract from that, rather than attracting people in your brokenness. Okay. So yeah, women call out of their brokenness as well, just like men call. I know that men call in too. Everybody is. And why did he become? How did he become the person that can issue out? How did he become the person that can issue out validation? You know? Yeah, it's all from a place of brokenness, and brokenness is, there's no shortage on it right now in the world. There is no shortage on brokenness, and it spans across gender lines, because a lot of people don't want to do the work to heal. They would rather call it's a concept called self-verification. You can look it up. And it's basically when it's a psychology concept. No problem. Thank you for watching, John. It's a concept called self-verification. And what it means is, however you feel about yourself, bad, good, or other, however you feel about yourself, you're going to seek others outside of you who agree with that. And so I feel like these women who are operating in their brokenness and who don't feel that great about themselves, who are, lacking in their own emotional, intelligence, they call a Samuels because deep down inside, the stuff that he's saying is even giving voice to their inner self, you know? And so, yeah, that's why they call. They seeking that self-verification. They want you to feel about them how they feel about them. That's why people are attracting people who they like. This is not what I want, but this is what I got. I hate this. This ain't what I want, because so many people refuse to do the work. They don't want to do the more difficult work to heal. They rather deflect. They rather, say, well, if them men will just do this, or if them women will just do this, they want to get into that finger pointing. And the reality is, if you would just come back home to you and explore what's going on in you, you can easily start attracting people who are also drawn to the wholeness in you. Because right now, in the current state of for so many people, they're operating in their brokenness and they're settling for things that are not acceptable or not conducive to a healthy relationship. So all that being said, y'all, I don't want to go too far over time. I like to keep these at about an hour. But the offer still remains. If you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. I would love to speak with you if you need help navigating out of those murky waters of brokenness. Man, I have a wonderful assessment that I know will help you guys and really show you the path to getting out of unhealthiness. So yeah, I would love to speak to anybody who is ready. That's what I can't stand. That's my thing. I don't like nobody ain't ready. Now, if you still wallowing in your mess and trying to find excuses to stay like you are or point fingers to the other opposite gender, okay, then you ain't ready for me. That's why my husband called me Tracy Ready, because I be want to work with people who is ready. Okay. So when you're ready to say, I'm tired of the way I've been coping and I'm ready to do something healthy, holla at your girl. TracyReady.com. Fellas, you know what? I don't have anything on my website that says me and sign up here, but I'm gonna go put some on there so that if one of you want to reach out, that's also another name for it. Yeah, confirmation bias. It's all in the same family. You're absolutely right. Confirmation bias, self-verification, it's all in the same family. Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to put something on there, or maybe y'all could just reach out. Y'all see something either on the website or you know where I am on the social media, and I'm willing to help anybody who is ready to walk that path of healing and come out of the brokenness. Because man, I want to see everybody happy. I want to see everybody having strong families, strong foundations. This is a little teensy weensy bit about my story, and I'm gonna get off here. Um, Marriage and family therapy, that's what I did for the longest, working with couples and things like that, working with families. And when I started to really survey what was happening, I was like, y'all didn't know this before y'all got together. Like y'all didn't work through this before. And I started to see all the opportunities that were available for people before they meet their spouse, before they have their kids, so that they could build something healthier, something more substantial. And something that could, you could really truly build on, so that you ain't going home at night mad at each other on a regular basis. Of course, conflict will happen. And so I decided to put my attention, instead of focusing on families and couples, I'm like, what if I could get to singles before they got into relationships? And that's why now I deal with single folks, because I want to see families thrive, you know. And my belief and experience is that when singles come into relationship with each other and they're both healthy and whole, they can then build something that's healthy and whole. But when you come into it broken, you're gonna build something broken, because you almost don't have a choice but to. So I started doing the work that I do out of the effort, out of the desire to see Black families strong. That's it. That's it. I want to disrupt this cycle of no dad in the home, or single parent. All that I just want to disrupt all that as much as possible. And I feel like I said, you got your Samuels and them that are speaking to a real issue, but they're furthering the divide rather than bringing the two together. And that's what I want to do. That's what I am doing. That's how I serve the world. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get off here because this done been too long. Child. I ain't trying to be on here this long. I wasn't been trying to be on here this long. I got to go run to the store. Me and the husband is having a little date night here in the house because we still have COVID, despite the fact that Texas just want to open up. So stupid. Anyway, it's another show. But yeah, so we're gonna have a little date night. So I gotta run to the store, get a few things, create us a little environment, a little atmosphere. And I'll see y'all next Friday. And by all means, leave your comments there. And like I said, if you want some help, you can leave that in the comments and we can reach out to each other, all that good stuff. Just that's what y'all can do. Anybody, men or women, inbox me on Soul Care for Single Black Women, and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right. I will talk to y'all later. Thank y'all for watching. If you're watching the replay, say something in the comments. Let us know. Bye bye.